What's going on, guys? Sean here, coming at y'all with a quick little video. We are 1 week away from training camp. I have done an amazing job of ignoring all of the off-season bullshit. We did not talk about Jalen Hurts being snubbed from the top 10 because we're not surprised and we don't care. We did not talk about Nick Sirianni. Is this even his team anymore? He's still the head coach. He's still here. He's still tied to us for the rest of the year. And all of his success is going to make him look better, and all of the failures are going to make him look worse. So, I just can't, I just summed it up in 20 seconds, and I've watched an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of content, where people are just going over this stuff, and there's really no point. What there is a point to talk about is guys like Ainias Smith fighting for a roster spot over Paris Campbell. What there is to talk about is Reed Blankenship once again having to prove himself, as he has as an undrafted free agent, from his first game getting a pick off Aaron Rodgers to his first year starting. It's always going to be a battle with him, and he has shown up every time. I expect him to do the same again this year and hopefully solidify that spot to where there's no more questions. Sidney Brown, coming off the ACL, says he's going to be ready early. Is he coming back too soon? Do we need depth? Should we talk about Justin Simmons? He's still floating around out there. Do we look at a guy like that? Position battles, cornerback, Kelee Ringo, our first round pick, our second round pick, all these guys that are battling for spots at corner. These are all things that are worth talking about. But until training camp starts, we have no more information. So rather than feeding you guys all the bull, are we a minute in yet? Yeah. Instead of feeding you guys all the bullshit like everybody else is, we're just going to talk about what there is to talk about. And, it's training camp coming up this week. It's about the battles. Now we can get into things. Now we can start talking about real things that we see with our own eyes. I've seen so many videos about, just based off rookie minicamp and little OTAs and stuff, these huge moves that people think we should make because of little things, at an off-season workout program. It's just, training camp is where it's at. For as much as we love, all these players, who we've never seen play a game that we just drafted this year, we really don't know. Jalix Hunt, Jalix Hunt is a third-round pick who is a boomer bust. Maybe he becomes a mid-level role player, but that's not really what you're hoping for. He's boomer bust. He could come out in training camp and get pancaked on every rep. And then what? Now we need another pass rusher, which we talked about earlier this offseason. Check out the videos on my channel. We've covered everything there is to cover that's worth talking about, okay? I see people all the time talking about Cooper DeJean, move him to safety. I don't understand. You drafted corners to lock up your cornerback positions. You've had some happy surprises with Isaiah Rodgers and Kelee Ringo, a couple other guys that are battling on the outside. But you drafted a guy in the first round to play outside to take over Slay's position. To not allow your first round draft pick to go out and play would be negligent. I love Kelee Ringo. He's a backup for right now. Until Slay leaves, he's a backup. Isaiah Rodgers, if he wins a starting job, you trade him. His value's never been higher. You paid nothing for him. If he comes out and can win a starting job, you have to trade him because you're not signing him long term. I see people saying all these crazy things just based off what they've seen. There's really no point. So when training camp officially kicks off, like I said, 1 week away, we can start having real conversations about these things. We can really start debating them. I will float over the Nick Sirianni topic again. He was given the same ultimatum Doug was. For everything we know as Eagles fans, he was given the same ultimatum. Either you got to come up with a way to change this team and make it better, or we're going to fire you. Nick chose a different route. Doug said no. Doug said, I'm going to stand on my principles, and I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'm going to win on those principles. And he has not. But the Jaguars were never going to be an easy fix. It was never going to be like the Eagles. It was always going to take longer to get them where they needed to be. So he still could. Doug might not have been wrong, but Nick chose the other route. He brought in the top offensive coordinator, the top play caller. He brought in a defensive coordinator who does not need a head coach, a guy who can do everything on his own. And now Nick can worry about development, growth, training, practice, all the other things that need to be happening. Nick knows this team. There's something to be said about building camaraderie, building trust, having those reps together, even between a head coach and his players. And he has not lost the locker room. At the end of last year, none of these players had to speak up for him. None of them. And they did. And players who left spoke up for him. And players who are still here spoke up for him. Players love Nick, okay? If you have a coach that gets the players to love each other, to love the game, and to listen to what they're being taught, that is a great coach, okay? Now, he could come out this year, and he could completely shit the bed. Nick could have a power trip. He could start freaking out because, he doesn't think he has enough control, blah, blah, blah. There's plenty of things that could happen. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. He's doing the right thing. I think Nick deserves a little bit of respect. He's been a hell of a coach up to this point. Has he made mistakes? Yes. Doug Peterson took us to a Super Bowl and won it, and 2 years later, we were a 4-12 team. That's not how those things should work. Yes, it was roster construction, a lot of one-year deals, a lot of aging vets, but it was also Doug. Doug's stubbornness, Doug's refusal to listen to anybody on the outside. There was just a lot that went into it, I think Nick made the right choice. Jalen Hurts, I expect him to come out and have a great training camp. I think a lot of people forget that he was hindered last year. He was hurting. He was really beat up. You've seen a lot of good flashes out of Jalen. There were also a lot of tipped balls that went the wrong way. There was a lot of these 50-50 interceptions that could go either way. There were only a few picks, if you go back and you watch the year, that really look like they're on Jalen. There were so many little fluky turnovers that happened throughout the year. I don't think you can really attribute that to him. And then you look at the routes the wide receivers were running. You got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown in the same little section of the field, and nobody running over the middle, and the guy on the other side's running a deep route. I mean, it's just, the play calling was never going to work. The scheme was never going to work. The players didn't like it. They voiced it. The people who got fired for a reason. All right? We brought in the right guys for the job. And I just can't wait to see it all come together. I think Jalen's going to have a great training camp. I expect a great year out of Jalen. I think we're going to be a little more run heavy than people realize. I don't think you pay Saquon that money and not feed him the ball. I see people saying, we're probably not going to be so screen heavy moving forward. Thank God. I wouldn't 100% count on that either. Kellen Moore is not afraid to utilize the screen game. Nick Sirianni obviously loves it. A lot of the players here know how to rep it and run it, even though it hasn't been successful. So maybe, we'll get a happy surprise on that front as well this year. But guys, that's pretty much all I want to talk about for now. I just wanted to let you guys know we are back. I am here. The channel's not dead. I know YouTube loves to push me into the dirt when I take a couple weeks off. I don't do this full time. I let it be known in the beginning. I say it in multiple videos. I come with the truth and I come with what I see. I'm not going to sit here and make videos all off season about speculation and maybe babies. And, it's not worth my time. It's not worth wasting your time because I'm not entertaining enough for anything other than the facts. So with that being said, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for continuing to tune in to support. I cannot wait for training camp to kick off. It's going to be an amazing off season. There's just so many battles. I haven't even really covered like Ainias Smith versus Paris Campbell, or like I said, there's so many good battles. But guys, stay tuned. We'll have it all later. We're going to talk about more as the season goes. I love y'all. Thank you again. Hit that thumbs up. Comment down below who you think is going to stand out this training camp. Peace.